So I'm here to give you an overview of what the Nectar Cloud is, what you can do with it, and also some use cases. So how's it applied into the real world of research and had research impact? Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Just before I really dive into it, I just wanted to acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians of traditional lands on who we meet and pay our respect to their elders past and present. So Bogdan actually gave a pretty good intro, thank you, for what Nectar is. But basically, having the cloud is having more powerful computing resources via the internet using your computer that you have at your disposal. So Nectar is Australia's purpose-built cloud for research, and it provides free computing services for eligible researchers. So as it was mentioned, yep, there are commercial providers, but these are paid, though some institutions do have agreements with these providers. I know RMIT, I think, has an agreement with AWS. So that is what it is. Sorry, just might be delayed. There we go. So we have multiple nodes of Nectar that make up a whole cloud federation. So we've got nodes here in Victoria, Tasmania, even one in New Zealand, New South Wales, Queensland, Adelaide, and WA. So we cover pretty much all of Australia and have, thanks to supporting research, we do have an impressive set of statistics that we like to throw up at different events and talks, of course. 8,700 virtual machines. We've had 150,000 virtual CPU cores. Look, fancy stuff. It just means we've really supercharged a fair bit of research. So what are some of the things that you might do with Nectar? Well, I can dive into that, but you may also be thinking, what about HPC? What is that for me versus what's Nectar? So HPC, or high performance computing, that is focused on submitting jobs to a queue for a computing cluster. So you do literally have to wait in line like you do in the supermarket and wait with your research computing jobs that you wish to do, submit, wait for the appropriate moment when it's available, and then the computation will be completed. And it is more so a focus on quite large computing computations, but instead cloud computing is interactive. So you are the operator. It has on-demand services, like let's say a GPU card that you can use for a period of time. You can have a graphical interface and have that set up so it's not just stuck in the command line. And users, you can customize and run online services, so like dashboards, websites, but you are the one who is driving the bus, so to speak. You've got to look after it and manage it and run it. But it is, once you have your allocation of compute, it is there ready to use. You're not waiting in a line. It's there just like your computer is there to open and turn on as you wish on a normal day of the week, unless there's a power outage or the technical gods are being a bit unhappy. Now, how do you access the Nectar Cloud? So for our dashboard and larger amounts of compute, we do have what we call an allocation form. So this is where you provide all the information about your project and your research, what you think you're going to use it for, and then you also select the size of resource that you would wish to use. We take this information and then report back to the government to then continue justifying usage and provision of these services. And also just noting, at this current moment, we can't support highly sensitive data. That is in the works to have a solution, but right now, unfortunately, we can't. So the other part of it is when you apply, you tell us what resource you want. So how much, basically it's like small, medium, large, but we have packages. So you're not having to pick each part of the compute yourself. So when you go to the shops, you don't say, I want this RAM, this hard drive, all these different little components. You just buy a computer where it's all decided. And we've tried to do the same thing on Nectar. So you don't have to think about it and how all the bits work together. We do also have custom available, so if you wish to put in the values yourself, you can decide how much of each component you want, how much CPUs, how many cloud computers you want to launch, etc. Now, to access and use those resources, once your project is approved, you go to the dashboard. And this is where you complete all the tasks you wish to do in the cloud. So this is like a sort of a menu. You can launch virtual machines or cloud computers, instances, and you can also, for the first time when you log in, you also receive a 6-month project trial with a small amount of resource, which may be quite beneficial for the scope of the summer school. And there's also command line access. So you can launch, probably can't see the text, but you launch a cloud computer, it gives you an address, and you can access that inside the command line to then interact with that cloud computer, install software, do whatever you wish to do. And then we also have other services powered by Nectar. Some you access through that dashboard I just showed you, and some you can just access by logging in with your university or institutional credentials. So these are what we call our managed services. So that's virtual desktop. Is that a button thing? Oh, cool. Virtual desktop, Binder Hub, and Jupyter Notebook service, that last one. These you can just log in with your institutional address, self-approve a project, and you have a limited amount of resource to either launch a cloud computer with a like a familiar desktop environment ready to go. You can someone can share a GitHub link on Binder Hub, and then you can launch a Jupyter Notebook. And here you can just edit and work on Jupyter Notebooks inside your browser. So in more detail, so the virtual desktop service. So as I said, desktop computer that's ready to go. You have 7 operating systems available. Majority are Linux, and some have a particular purpose. So our Neuro desktop has a lot of like medical imaging type software. We've got scientific toolbox, so it's got R, Python, Julia, LaTeX all installed. And then of course we have the crowd favorite, Windows. That's something that's newly been added to the virtual desktop service. And because you can just log in and start using it, we do have resource limits because there's not a finite amount of boxes in a warehouse where we can continuously run lots and lots of cloud resource. So we have 100 gigabyte storage for Windows, and we have 50 gigabyte storage for each of these other desktops. The baseline 16 gigabyte of RAM, boostable for 7 days to 32 gigabytes of RAM. And again, log in with your uni credentials. And Binder Hub and Jupyter Hub, this is about your or Jupyter Notebook, being able to both work on them and collaborate and share with colleagues, especially Binder Hub. So you want someone to see something you've been working on in a Jupyter Notebook. You can package it in a GitHub link, send it to them, and it'll launch. You don't have to install any dependencies. You don't have to install Jupyter Notebooks. It's all there ready to go in your browser. So it's very handy, especially just sometimes getting that initial setup is quite hard to begin with, just to get the actual notebook set up. Now, here are some examples of real-world use cases which have supported research. So we've got the Macquarie perch species research. They used Nectar to do a very high level of computation on genomic sequencing of that particular type of fish. The fish was dying out in its population. And through doing that analysis, they figured out that it was by not mixing the 2 different kinds and different types of fishes, including this one, and isolating it, that would help that breed not to become unwell and be able to survive and continue thriving. But they weren't able to do that just on their normal computer because the computations were so large because of the size of genomic sequencing files. The next one, so we have eReef platform and climate impact on the reef. So this collaboration amongst a bunch of different organisations, but they were able to host and serve up a dashboard through Nectar where people can interact with climate data and its impact on the Great Barrier Reef. So that's hosting and running on Nectar right now as we speak, and anyone can go to it and have a look and interact with that data and take away conclusions. And another one which was through actually the virtual desktop service, so not on the dashboard. This one was a chickpea farming dashboard. So again, it's climate data, all sorts of different input data from around the impact on chickpea farming in Queensland. And it's a dashboard in which someone can go have a look, make decisions from that data that's being served to then help them understand whether they will, how they will plant their crops and whatnot. So that's had significant agricultural impact. I also had a beach photo there because I wasn't sure around time, but there's also a project around drone usage in on the Gold Coast and how they're monitoring beach usage as well and coastal erosion. So lots of these are just like a very small subset, but you see the impact and how it allows for real world use case as well. And that could be all of your research, because it doesn't matter what level of research you're at, you can have an impact thanks to these tools and the work that you do. Okay, so I did mention that Nectar does have some eligibility. That's to use the dashboard and get access to the bigger amount of resource, like the GPUs. So if you want to find out the services you can use and are eligible for, because there are just some slight technicalities, we do have a tool that we've newly released. I'll probably just send all these links to Bogdan, and then you can send it to everybody, because I assume you've got the mailing list. But you can go to this tool and just answer 3 to 5 questions, and it'll tell you what services you can use and link off to those to start using them and get started. Now, in terms of using the cloud, it can be a bit of a scary place because there is a lot to learn and a lot of steps, though we are, of course, trying to improve that. We have got user support services. So we've got a help desk available between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday, excluding national public holidays. We have knowledge-based articles and a tutorial site as well, and live training that's run monthly on Zoom. And then this QR code here, that will take you to the training, learning and resources page, which has all the links to the relevant places and where you can also sign up for training if you wish to use Nectar in the long term. And then the tutorial site, that is also just more like hands-on how to connect to my virtual machine, how to turn on my virtual machine. And then knowledge base is kind of doing the explanatory version like I'm doing here. So talking through the concept. So what's a cloud bundle? What's a GPU? What is our reservation service? Frequently asked questions, all that information that you need to know. Wrong way. Now, something additional is we just, of course, beyond me and Nectar, we do have digital resources for researchers provided by ARDC. So another handy thing to look at, not only links to Nectar, but other things that ARDC do to support fields of research. That also includes, specifically for HASS researchers. And if you're interested in reading in some of those impact case studies in detail, we do have a link, again, for scan to the ARDC website where you can read in detail some of those ones that I referenced. And of course, it's the end, the marketing spiel at the end. We've also got the subscribe to our newsletter to keep up to date with what ARDC are doing. But I've just realised there's one slide that seems to be missing from my slide deck. So one thing I like to also cover is what does it look like in a practical sense when using Nectar. So things like what would I use it for in day-to-day terms. So one of those things is like, okay, I need more powerful computing resource, more than my laptop can provide. Another thing is you need administrator access. So sometimes the big sort of struggle is I want to install software, but I can't install it directly on my institutional machine. because it's locked down. So when you have a cloud computer, you do have that level of admin access to install what you need, the packages, the software. If you want to have long-running research tasks, so, classic story of someone taking the computer home, put on the front seatbelt on, and hope it stays running until they get home because I can't stay at the office. We'll have to get home and whatnot. So those are like just examples of things that in the day-to-day that can support you for the things you need to do. Or also databases, hosting a website, serving information to other users. Just again, couple of examples. Now, what I'll do is open it up for questions, if anyone has any, and then I can demo some services if there's time, and go from there.
Question: how is it different from NCI?
Sorry, I think when I'm causing an echo. NCI. Can you hear me without it? Yeah. NCI.
I think it's more of a HPC.
Yeah, there's more of a true model
So it's there's a bit of a difference. So when you use HPC, you're running a HPC on an already existing instance, right? So NCI is an example of that. So you have HPC computers, basically a bunch of computers connected together, running different jobs, and then you ask that computer to perform a specific job for you, and that computer does it. So you, for example, you want to run a Python script, so you execute it, you run it remotely. It's still remote access, but it's a machine that is not configurable by you, but it's configurable by the organization that's running this HPC. And then when it comes to cloud computing, here you have the opportunity to install your own system. So let's say you want to, for example, manage your own data. So for example, you want to have your own environment. So for example, you have a Python environment, right? Has anyone worked with Python here? Yes. So you have your own Python environment, and you've installed multiple packages. And within this environment, you've configured it, and then you know the tools that you use, all the packages that you use. And in order for you to process your data, what you need to do, let's say your laptop is not strong enough, right? Let's say your laptop does not work that well. You need more power. You want to process your data more quickly, or you want to process more data. So what you do, you, instead of running it on your laptop, you go to this cloud. You use, for example, your environment that you already have. You know that works. You upload it to that instance, and you execute whatever you want to execute in that environment. So basically, that's the way of setting up, I guess, remote access. So doing what you would do on your laptop, but remotely. I guess that's one way to think about it. Yeah. And then with HPC, you don't have this much flexibility, I guess.
Thank you. I see here on the cute little brochure it says AI ready. Do you know anything about what is currently sitting on there and whether or not that's delightfully free to access?
Yep, AI Ready is part of the dashboard. So
Great.
You can launch that through there, but you do have to have the cloud project.
Cool.
As far as I know, still launchable, a very small one through the project trial.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, getting the feedback.
Do I have to put my own models on there, or does it come with models already installed?
That's the concept of having a lot of those key ones like PyTorch, the big ones already installed, a lot of it set up, and you can just get going. Yeah, it's available through our application catalog. So that's one where you can also launch things like RStudio. It's all built for you. Here it is. These are the things like the size. Here's the name of it. Go. And then this system will do all the setup for you.
Awesome. Second question. Do I have to petition my university for access to this? Let's say I have, 4 projects that I would like to work on over the next 6 months that all require like a different set of models that I might want to engage with, and I've got 8 months left on my PhD. Let's just say that.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Is this a thing that I could then go and work with that, or would I then have to go through my institution and petition for particular resources?
It does slightly vary from university to university, but most of the time, if you're especially one of those ones on that map from there, yes, excellent. You can just apply, and then the team who are associated with that node, let's say it's Monash.
It is Monash.
Oh, okay, there you go. Lucky guess. So let's say, yeah, so the Monash team would review that, and most likely, pending knowing all full details in the application, grant you a cloud allocation. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, sorry.
I understand this might be a hard one to do off the top of your head, but
Okay.
kind of increasingly the thing that I've been running into is VRAM limitations. Trying to run kind of anything over 24 gigs is incredibly painful. Do you know kind of what, how hard it is to access that kind of, 40 to 80 gigabyte VRAM range within Nectar?
If I have done my studying correctly and done the maths properly, you should be able to get those quite easily.
Cool.
But we do have the large RAM allocations, and they're bookable, but that's talking in the size of like 900 gig of RAM, and you have to book that because it's such a large resource. But what you're looking for, I think you'll be fine.
Okay.
We do have a document called like a flavours document, and that's like you select a flavour to your cloud computer to say, this is how much RAM I want, storage, blah, blah. That I can share to be sent to the group to have a look at, and that'll tell you the specs of what's available specifically.
Cool. Any other questions?
Does anyone want to see something in action? I know that's a bit dangerous when you're doing it live, but we can have a look at the dashboard or the virtual desktop if there's time. Yeah, we do have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Like just walk to the middle. This door actually keeps us entertained, right?
This is the dashboard where you'd go to potentially apply for a project and use some of that larger resource than like the virtual desktop. We have like a landing page. Was that going down? There we go. With quick links to different things you need, like whether you want our tutorials, or especially like security is super important, of course, and our support center. And then if there are issues in the cloud, SHIT happens. We do have a service announcements list too. So if something's not quite working, you can check there if there's an official issue that's been logged and diagnosed. We have our left-hand menu, which is, what's happening? Okay. All right, so the RMIT computer is not compatible with Windows, but we wouldn't have this problem in the cloud. So I'm just going to move that. Okay, so here on the left-hand side is also where you do like your action menu. So I want to launch a cloud computer. I can do so under, I know it's very small and I can't zoom in, compute and instances. And this, because it's in my project trial, which is that thing that you will all get when you log in for the first time and you can have a play and a click, that has nothing listed because these do expire after 6 months. But I do have like a project that I'm a part of, and you'll see like a list of instances that have been launched. Just give it a click. as it is when it's not like a pre-prepared video. There's always a risk. Okay, so like here's some examples of like, someone's launched a cloud computer. It's given an IP address, which is like the place where this computer lives. And then I would connect to that remotely through the command line. There are a few extra steps, of course, to get to this point. But we do have our tutorial site, which runs through like all the steps you need to do to get to this point. So for that flavours question, let's actually just go to flavour. Hang on. So that's like the baseline. So see, we go up to 128 gig of RAM. There, hopefully that's kind of what you were asking about, looking for, or I got that wrong?
Slightly different, so it'll be GPU RAM.
Oh, GPUs. Okay, so that's all right. We have lots of availability on our GPU service at the moment, actually, so not a lot getting used. So if you want to use it, please do. You do have to book because they are like a select resource, so we try to keep it not one person can book it for an entire year, so it does have limitations in that sense. But you can reserve and you can adjust these limits as well. You can apply in your project to have greater limits, like number of reservations and the amount of days that are available to you. But let's have a look at what we've got. So see, these are all the GPUs we have available in that list, and I'll just select, even if you just want huge RAM. Here's an example. Oh no, that's under maintenance. So like that one, that Queensland one has 960 gig of RAM. And see all that green? These are all available at the moment. So yeah, if you guys want to use these, please do. And we do have maintenance periods occasionally. We do have to sort of, spit and polish and keep things running nicely. So sometimes there are like moments of unavailability, but it's mostly there. So I can also send an article about how to get going on the GPU service. Anything else people would like to see or have a look at? Oh, question? No, oh, sorry. Yep, the awkward, scratch the head. Do we want to, yes?
My apologies if you've covered this already.
That's okay.
But do you, are there any sort of conditions on usage of this? As in, does there have to be an ethics attached to a project? Does it need to comply with certain requirements? I know that you have a checklist. And also, as a follow-up to that, do you need to be, will you expect to be acknowledged in publications, research outputs? Is there a way of doing that? Is that something that we should keep in mind?
Yes and yes. So to the first part, you have to be in a national project type to be able to use this, or from one of the institutions in the first three-letter prefix. You probably can't see it, but we have our partner institutions on that map. So there's like Queensland, Monash, Swinburne, Intersect, who they're a group of universities who are members of Intersect. As examples, they provide these. So let's say you're from Monash and you have Monash, you can use Monash GPUs locally through your institution. If you're from, Charles Darwin University, let's say, we do not have a local node of Charles Darwin University, but if you have a grant or you're working with another NCRIS facility or collaborating with an ARDC project or collaborating with one of these universities who provide these, you will be eligible to use them. So that's, I know there's a few caveats and fine print, but that is our current availability model. The other question around, we do hope that people will acknowledge the ARDC in their publications when it comes up. We do have guidelines, but we don't, in the sense, enforce it because can't keep track of everything. But we do send that to everyone and a link with the template text that says, here's what to say.
Anything else?
And if something comes up later, there's I'm pretty sure in the brochure it has a link to our support site. Send us a message, send us an email, say I was at the Computational Summer School and I've got these questions, and I'll get them flicked back to me.
Oh, just one more question, because I think it might be
Go for it.
totally irrelevant. Could you talk a little bit more about Binder? I know you mentioned it briefly. The reason I'm asking is that sometimes you want to share data or you want to share code publicly as a part of a publication, for example. Is Binder something that could be used in that way, or does it have a different purpose?
Yeah, Binder, if it's code and diagrams and whatnot that have been done specifically in a Jupyter notebook, yes. I have a feeling even R-based notebooks as well. I can bring up the homepage, but that is that purpose of you could package all your stuff into a GitHub link, including the data and the notebook or whatever the hosting element is, and then put that link into Binder Hub and it'll launch the Jupyter notebook for you. And it'll be all there, that the information the person sent, and you can run it in your browser.
Also, but for teaching.
But teaching or training for researchers though, so it can't be teaching for undergraduates because this is services for research. That's how we're funded to operate and support. So if you're training other researchers, fantastic, that can be used for that, but not for undergrad or masters.
That's useful. Thank you very much.
I guess there are also two important points. First is that usually if you want to access cloud computing, you need to pay extra money. And especially if it comes to infrastructures like Amazon or Google. And I guess using Nectar is one way to reduce your costs. There's no guarantee that you will be able to access all the resources that you actually need. So for example, GPUs are still really scarce. And sometimes it's really just not possible to get sufficient GPUs, especially for larger projects, solely from an Australian institution. But I think if you're looking to run your analysis in a cloud, I guess Nectar would be a very good cost-efficient platform. And the second thing is, if you're running a project, especially if it's a larger project, or if you're working with multiple participants and then you're processing their data, let's say you've conducted a bunch of interviews, so you've collected survey data that you want to publish openly. Sometimes there is this requirement that this data needs to be stored somewhere secure, somewhere in Australia. So for example, if you're working with an Australian institution, like if you're a PhD candidate at an Australian institution, or if you're a researcher at an Australian institution, you need to show, for example, the ethics committee that the data of your participants is handled safely. And one way to do it is to use a local infrastructure, an Australian infrastructure, because Amazon is a foreign entity, Google is a foreign entity, but ARDC is something that's supported by the Australian government. So I guess it gives you additional points when you apply for ethics. And when you really need to use a cloud infrastructure, I guess an infrastructure that is based in Australia and is funded by the Australian government would be seen as a much, I guess, more secure infrastructure than, for example, AWS, which would certainly raise some questions from, I guess, some ethics committees. So I guess that's another consideration. And if you're ever in need of more compute, or if you just want to play around and then find out the ways how you could potentially use cloud computing in your work, so please visit the Nectar website and reach out, and then use one of these handouts that we've just given you. And also I will share the slides with all those beautiful QR codes that kind of systematize what we have just absorbed, right? And yeah, unless there are any more questions, should we call it today?
Oh, you want to? That's.
Is there anything else you would like to?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to stick around, show people things that you may want to look at specifically for yourself. I've just in the background having a virtual desktop launch. This is the service that's more limited in resource, but anyone can just log in and use it. It's like another personal desktop in the cloud, and that's just how easy it was. It was just me logging in, clicking a button, choosing an operating system, and the bees are busy getting my cloud computer setup. But otherwise, if people want to have a look, I can stick around. Otherwise, I'm happy to let you call it a day and folks can start commuting.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to ask about any other possible. So, for example, running Jupyter Notebook. Does anyone know about Jupyter Notebooks? I do. Yeah. If you would like to learn more about what ARDC offers and what is available on Nectar, please just let Sonia know, and she's here.